Hey, everybody. Welcome to the morning market briefing. It's Tuesday, July 7th, 2026. Hope you're doing well out there. You ought to be because our national nightmare is over. Congratulations, everyone. You don't have to watch soccer. We did it. U.S. falls 1-4 to Belgium with a number of hilarious miscues.
I mean, that's like getting beat, 35-3 in football? I mean, what's the average number of goals scored per game? 2?
I feel like it was a touchdown game at halftime. And it's like, man, they've got a chance.
When the U.S. tied it 1-1 and then immediately gave up a goal, I thought, this is going the wrong way.
It reminded me of the Washington-Alabama playoff game.
2016?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they still have a chance. They're within it. Like, if he hadn't thrown that pick six, and then it just...
And then you throw 3 more?
Just fell apart. Yeah, I will say the goalie did a Young Hoku toe stub trying to kick the ball and clear it out. And that's the funniest soccer play I've ever seen in my life. I wish it had happened to the other guys, but...
I will say everyone involved in the crybabying about the red card just got flipped big time because Belgium has to feel like real babies because they won anyway by a wide margin.
Yeah.
The people who were like, I'm rooting for Belgium because I hate America probably feel pretty stupid as well. And then, I mean, all of the theater kids are just crying because the U.S. turns out actually just a pumpkin.
Yeah, but it's okay because they've got other nations to root for.
Yeah,
So,
that's true. Yeah.
I'm done watching the World Cup, so expect no more commentary from me, Ben. I'm sure you'll continue to watch.
I mean, if you hate America, you've got to have a real tough time with today's game because, I assume you'd be on board with Egypt, but then you've also got the whole thing where the Nazis left Germany and ended up in Argentina. And then obviously Argentina got a lot of flack last time for winning because they don't have enough diversity. It's really tough. It's going to be really tough to decide who the bad guy is.
Sam's going to be in a total pretzel. Sam's going to the game.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they've got the best player in the world, so.
Yeah, we know where he's going.
As a New York Yankees, Alabama.
Sam is already wearing the variation of the Yankee pinstripes that is the Argentina jersey. So, you going to any more games, Ben, or are you done?
No, I mean, no, I'm not. I had fanciful notions that if England gets to the semifinal, I would go to that here. But then I looked at the ticket prices.
It's so much money.
It's $39.50 to get in the door.
I'm telling you, man, it's bad value.
$3,950.
Yeah. You're getting 90 minutes of action for more than you would pay to go see a playoff game of really anything except the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get in the college football national championship for less.
Yeah.
And you're going to get 4 times the amount of time because of the amount of commercials.
I know someone who's going
and fewer injuries somehow.
Fewer injuries.
I know someone who's going to the semifinal game who bought the tickets from Coca-Cola. So Coca-Cola gives tickets at a much discounted price, and he was like, "Man, I got the ticket, and it's a pretty good seat. It's level 200. It was only $2,900.
That's crazy. It's crazy, man.
It's just $50 a minute, but including water breaks.
Soccer's down. We will talk about the World Cup within the economic landscape, though, because ISM Services came through, seeing some broadening with the strength profile there, but most of the employment seems to be World Cup related.
Yeah, I think that was the big. So you had new orders come down a little bit and employment go up, but I think on the new order front, I was a little bit concerned about that, but then I think that was mostly healthcare related, because a lot of the commentary was about new orders actually broadening out.
You would think the healthcare would be strong with all these guys getting hurt out on the pitch.
I mean, was there any talk of how much of the enthusiasm was manufactured?
I think, but overall, I think the ISM services was pretty good, and prices came down a bit. But maybe I would have expected a little bit more coming down on the prices. It went from 71.3 to 67.7. It seems to me, and I was en route at the time the ISM services came out, so I'd be curious to hear your all thoughts, especially as it relates to the fixed income markets. But it seems to me that the concern here is that prices did not come down more and that employment was strong, and therefore the Fed doesn't need to cut rates, but we just got the actual employment number for June, and it was pretty bad. I mean, 2 million people have dropped out of the workforce since the beginning of last year. 2 million people, because they've just given up looking for work.
Or did they go home?
I think
it's a
there's
combination of the
I think
two.
there's selective selection on what jobs number you want based on your narrative right now, and I think we're seeing that. Yesterday's a great indication of that. You know, the jobs number, the official print, we had to take as the gospel, even though it's always wrong for so long. And it's like when it's, well, this one tells our story a little bit better. Let's go with that.
I mean, it's a lot like the red card thing. You know, it's like
it's a red card till it's not.
It's like the jobs market, the data is bad, but because Trump wants to cut interest rates, everyone's like, this is awesome. This is great data. You know, everyone's taking the staunch opposite of what reality is because that's what they want. You know, it's like, I'm going to root for Belgium because of the red card. It's like, okay, well, what good does that do anyone? What good does that do for us if you're rooting so hard for higher rates?
And simultaneously, what good does Balogun do?
They didn't seem to do much.
Yeah, it's a weird. I think people are having a really hard time switching their narrative, and I don't think they're going to. So I think they're going to continue. We're another 2 months away from inflation coming down, jobs deteriorating, and them saying, well, actually, this is why we should be hiking rates.
If anything, they should be on board with Trump stinks at creating jobs.
Yeah, it's an easy narrative.
They did that when they faked all Biden's jobs, but now they can't seem to do it this time because I don't know why. I'd like you get yourself in so many pretzels where you don't know what
they're
you're
in a
fighting
pretzel where if you are politically motivated to interpret economic data, you want the data to be as poor as possible right now heading into the midterm. But they also don't want rates cut because that helps the economy and it might happen too soon. So I think we're going to act like the data is pretty good and we should definitely not do anything with the rates until October. And then if you can get a cut, then you have the perfect narrative of the economy is so bad that we had to cut rates, but we've not yet seen an impact of it because Trump's appointee was so slow to do the thing that everyone other than me wanted them to do.
But of course he did it right before the midterms.
Yep. He's politically motivated. He's not independent.
I mean, people forget Jay Powell cut rates when inflation was actually higher than it is now. But that was not politically motivated. That was long and variable lag based.
Trump, meanwhile, is saying he's tackling inflation one Walmart at a time, says they're lowering prices by a lot. So in celebration of the country's 250th birthday. So the birthday sale coming through at Walmart. Rolling.
Beef down 15%, by almost 15% among many other products. This is a huge deal.
For the boys.
The commentary here is just rich. This is a huge deal for the many millions of Americans who smartly shop at Walmart. I count myself among them, which is a truly patriotic company who loves the USA.
When was the last time Trump was at Walmart? He's got to just be a Walmart Plus guy. I mean, that would be wild if he walked into Walmart and the president was there.
I mean, he's a real dichotomy of man kind of guy because he
likes a lot of very unnice things.
Yeah, he has the champagne taste when it comes to gold-plated Eagles everywhere, but he also loves a McDonald's.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to say.
I respect it.
Yeah.
I've been to McDonald's and Walmart in the last week.
That's big.
Nice.
Got that going for me.
Yeah.
I've been to McDonald's in a while. We should order up some McMuffins.
It's so good. The problem with I have it like 4 times a year, and when I have it, I immediately want it for like a month straight.
Yeah.
It's like I got to get it back. It's so good.
You just got to hold out for Burrito Day.
Tim Rouse, recapping commentary from Waller, saying Waller's not against all forward guidance, but warns that it is more art than science. Tim Rouse trying to find a slant here.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically trying to say that there's been positives when, perception is reality. So if the Fed sets the perception that rates are going to go higher, then the market will react to that, and then they don't actually have to raise immediately. There is an argument there. They're basically saying that in 2021, they got the 2-year to go up 200 basis points before they ever raised rates. But we forget that was only like 40% of the way. Like they were still behind by, call it 3% by the time that actually happened, and then the Fed was still too late, and then inflation still went high. So I don't think that's a great argument. But I mean, there is a point there, which is that the signaling changes the way the market moves, and Tim Rose is arguing that's a good thing. Kevin Warsh is making the opposite argument, which is that the market has to decide and make bets, and uncertainty creates opportunity. Risk creates opportunity. If there's no risk, if you're like, hey, here's an investment, it's a no lose. Well, guess what? There's no value there either. That's like, why you bet if Patrick Mahomes is going to throw a touchdown pass, your odds are negative 5,000. It's because he almost always throws a touchdown pass. That's how gambling works, and that's why the markets work the same way. It's like you have to be comfortable in the uncertainty and know that if you make the correct call, you have an asymmetric return, then you can make money. And he's arguing that the markets should do that themselves. And right now, I'd argue the markets are making the wrong bet, which is in our favor because all of the inflation and jobs data is poor, and that gives us a probabilistic outcome that we're more likely right than wrong, and we can make more money by being right than we can lose by being wrong.
The same style factors in stocks work at different times.
Yep.
So like right now, it's a very momentum driven market. Some markets are driven by growth stocks. Some markets are driven by value stocks. Sometimes the Fed probably should provide this forward guidance. Like in 2008, when you have to say, we'll do whatever it takes. If you just did whatever it took, it would probably have cost $10 trillion to support things. But when you tell the market you'll do whatever it takes,
we're stepping in,
we're here, then people are going to front run you, and that helps you out. But right now, there's no reason to provide that. So you don't need to be a growth investor. You can be a value investor. You don't need to be a forward guidance provider. You can be just act.
I have nothing to add, but yeah, it's interesting to see people actually take a step back. And I don't know, Tom, would you agree that just the tone of the Fed I'm impressed, not necessarily good, bad, but impressed by the rate at which commentary from the Fed has changed.
Yeah, I love it. I mean,
it's been a very quick transition.
If anything, it's new and interesting for the first time really in my career, because we've just had a long, slow trudge of just Bernanke and Yellen and Powell, and they're all doing the same thing. And now it's like, hey, it's a new ball game. It's like we all like it's basically like if we're all going to go line up to do a football play, and it's like, hey, we're going to run the ball, and they're like, all right, cool, well, we're going to adjust our defense accordingly, and then everyone knows what the outcome is going to be. You're going to run for 2 yards because they knew it was coming. Now it's like, I mean, we might throw a flea flicker. We might punt. Who knows? Like we're wild.
Crazy boys are out. Lots of volatility in the memory space. We alluded to this story yesterday a little bit, but Samsung up 150% in terms of their growth, but not enough. The stock fell 10%.
Yeah, it was a bad day for Samsung. Bad day for Korean stocks again. I mean, it's crazy how the volatility. I mean, I always come back to this. Imagine if the S&P 500 was up 10% and down 10% and hitting multiple circuit breakers a day and closing down 5%, and the next day it was up 5%. That's what's going on in Korea right now. They ended up closing only down 4.5%, but it's hitting some of the U.S. stocks this morning. My personal view is that we're in the latter innings of this first wave of AI, and that's why you're seeing volatility, because volatility tends to happen at those changes.
Yeah, we need to see some consolidation of thought and of trend and where we're actually heading. On the U.S. side here, some automobile news. Rivian issuing 75 million shares, raising $1.5 billion. If you're a local Georgia resident, this matters.
Yeah, I'm a big auto producer, and it's funny. Like, I almost didn't put this in the notes, but it was relevant with the next subject with the Toyota Tacoma coming into San Antonio. But because there's only $1.5 billion equity raise, but prior to Google and SpaceX and all of these companies raising just unbelievable amounts of money, $1.5 billion would have been big. It doesn't seem as big any longer.
Yep.
I was just going to say, I was curious because Korea is causing so much fluctuation in worldwide markets. I thought I bet they're pretty productive on average from like a per capita GDP versus the rest of the world. Turns out, not so much. Though interestingly, they are ranked above Japan. I would have guessed Japan would have been up there too, but per capita GDP for South Korea, $37,412, ranking 37th in the world, just behind Estonia and just ahead of Lithuania, which is pretty interesting.
Where's the U.S.?
The U.S. is number 8 at $94,430.
I'm disappointed by that.
Now, obviously, you've got some per capita issues where like Monaco, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, Bermuda, Ireland at 140,000, ranking number 4. Surprising. A lot of that is because they've,
The patents.
European, the European patent stuff with Google and Meta and all those companies. Switzerland, 4. They've got a lot of that Nazi money in their banks. It's been growing for a long time. Cayman Islands, not surprising. There's like 6 people there, and they're all doing nefarious financial things. Iceland, Singapore, Norway, and then the U.S. But I mean, you've got a much larger population. I mean, the average population of the ones ahead of us has to be less than 10 million, right? I mean, Ireland's probably got 4. Bermuda probably has, 15 people. Luxembourg, a couple 100,000. Yeah. So pretty interesting, though. But, I mean, San Marino, which is a 1 square mile in the middle of Italy, is 14th. But it's interesting. I would have guessed that you would see Korea up there because there's so many prominent Korean companies like Samsung that are so large, but 37. And Lithuania and Estonia, surprising to be bracketing them there. So just there's information, you got to knowing stuff is half the battle. So this is pretty interesting information, I think.
The Toyota Tacoma moving to San Antonio. They were building it partially in Guanajuato and partially in Baja, California. So moving to San Antonio, goal here is reducing tariff costs, increasing domestic production. They need more capacity.
Yeah, they have the highest capacity utilization in North America right now, more than 90% on the Toyota Tacoma. It's very hot. The truck is very hot. So
people love Tacomas.
They do. And usually if you're running a business, you don't really want to be above 90% capacity. You want to be 80 to 85 because you need to have some downtime, some retooling. You don't want people all working overtime and paying extra. So it's going to cost them $3.5 billion. It should be set up in the next few years. We had an interesting conversation with a client about the reshoring. It was asked yesterday, and he was asking, do you think this is actually happening? And I think that it is. And I think that tariffs have accelerated it, but I think it would happen anyway because you're losing the benefit of labor arbitrage. And I do think that robotics and factory automation, whether it looks like an Optimus robot or something else, is coming to plants in North America. And I think that the difference between paying a worker $3 an hour and paying a worker $30 an hour, it seems very large, but when you have fewer workers and more robots, it's going to be less meaningful. And when you can be closer to the end customer, I think that you're going to want to do that. And I think Toyota's being smart about this.
Want to hear a real fun fact?
Let's go.
I'd love to beat a dead horse. Some people would argue that these are the best of us and that we should increase their exposure and make them the most prominent people in our society. Would you like to guess the per capita GDP output of the average Somalian person?
9,000.
I was going to say 900.
It is $813 a year.
Wow.
So ranking 100 and hang on, I lost my space on the page. 182nd out of 190 countries.
Who's at the bottom?
Yemen at $384.
Land of my father.
That's crazy.
So,
yeah, at the bottom you got Yemen, Afghanistan, South Sudan, Burundi, Central African Republic, and Mozambique rounding out the bottom there. North Korea, 640. So they're slightly behind Somalia, but absolutely getting stunted upon by their southern brethren. So it's crazy. The Somalia number is insanely low.
Sounds made up.
Yeah, $813 seems like it'd be hard to calculate, but there you go.
That's wild. All right, we'll wrap it up there. We will be back tomorrow. Y'all have a great day. Talk to you soon.